Welcome into another episode of Live Good DyNasty. I'm Arlen. We got Nate here, and we're doing a mailbag episode today. What up, Nate?
What up? What up? See what's going on in the world today. How you been, man?
I've been doing awesome. My Browns finally won. Feeling a lot better. We get to go up against each other this week since we didn't get to our modest goal of 100 subscribers yet. But by October 31st, that means that I don't have to shave this. You don't have to grow that beard out for a month. But one of us will have to do that because we have a bet. Your team, the Chargers, take on my team, the Browns, and whoever loses has to still keep their end of that 100 subscriber promise. So hopefully you won't see what's under here, and we'll just every week be able to get to check in on the progress of what you say should not be called a beard.
I mean, that's not going to be an arguable point. We're going to be measuring whether or not it should be called a goatee or whatever's happening. One thing I just realized though is I'm going to have to go through this with my family again because they were all like, "Oh, he's not going to have to do this. They're not going to hit 100 probably by tomorrow." Um, and I just reopened the floodgates to ruining Christmas pictures. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
in a much
it's
more
always live on air too. We
tangible
commit
way.
to this.
Immediate commit to potentially uglying up. Sell it as it'll hide my double chin. That's where we're going with
Why
that.
do you think I have it? It's for all three of my chins that you'll be able to meet post this inevitable defeat when Winston throws 13 interceptions, no doubt. Can't believe he didn't throw one this last week. So he's kind of there's like
I do, yeah.
it's a pinch toe situation where we're gonna have a bunch of random balls thrown. All right, well, we are getting to your questions that we are siphoning through and getting some answers to both of our thoughts. We'll kind of discuss a few of them. We'll go for about 15, 20 minutes. Now they're going to look at the timestamp and be like, so they went 30 minutes. That's cool. Uh, we'll do our
Commit,
best. And
dude.
if we get carried away, we get carried away. But this is Live Good DyNasty, and we'll get into the questions in just a moment. All right. As we're getting in here, if you are new, know that we are on YouTube here. But you might not be listening on YouTube. You might be listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, or watching the video on YouTube. So if you're on one but prefer another platform, you can jump on over there. But if you are on one, the ratings really help us for the podcast, and the liking, commenting, subscribing really always help the YouTube platform and tell the algorithm that we're worth hanging out with. But we appreciate y'all popping in because these are conversations that we have had for years, and we just started recording this year. But we'd be talking about it with or without you. But hopefully you like it. All right,
Of our lives have we wasted for none of this going out into the airspace?
gosh, no waste when it's your special interest.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
All right, do you have one queued up? I got that black screen of death right now.
Yeah, of course. So one question that came up right now is someone seems like they are desperate to replace Kincaid for some reason on their roster. Even after tight end weekend this weekend, they're looking to someone that hasn't played yet. So would you give up Zay Flowers to get TJ Hockenson? They've got Kincaid today, but they're nervous about Deontay Johnson joining the Ravens. They're worried about Flowers losing all that work. Would you trade Zay Flowers today to get Hockenson on your team?
Jeez, I don't, I don't know that I would because if, so we still don't know what Hawkinson's going to do, and I do think there's a good possibility that Hawkinson is a great second half tight end. But Kincaid, for all I traded him away in Dynasty, and I know the pain of having Kincaid of like versus the expectations you had, but it's really just that. It's just the expectations you had. If you kind of take just a straightforward lens, take a look at like just without the lens of that expectation, he hasn't been like killing your team and losing you weeks. And it's really, really hard to find a tight end that completely wins you weeks. And after the first couple weeks, he had then it's 11.748611. You might be in a that's in a half PPR, so I think that's a pretty fair assumption. That's about what you're looking at. And overall, the tight ends haven't been that crazy, but the targets are there. I mean, in the last 5 weeks, 7 targets, 6 targets, seven, 6, 7. I think Hawkinson is a great person to have. I think if you have Kincaid, I wouldn't thin myself out in another position. Um, when there's too many question marks surrounding not just Zay Flowers, but Hawkinson too. So for me, I would keep Zay Flowers.
I'm actually with you there. Kincaid did participate in what we're lovingly going to be calling tight end weekend. Last
Mhm.
weekend, he scored his first touchdown since week 3. Um, he's still out there for a majority of the snaps. And what else can you ask for? I think you put it the best in saying that he's not losing you weeks, right? That's kind of right now how we're looking at the tight end position as a position that's just not going to lose you any games. With that in mind, he's scoring you double digit half the time. I would hold tight and not worry about um, trying to upgrade to something mysterious. To your point, and his next question, well, I'll just go back into the running back world. We just did our running back rankings last week, so we've got for some reason this gentleman has to start 3 out of these 4 running backs. Somehow they have these 4 running backs. I don't know what world they have these 4 running backs in. I'm assuming this is Dynasty. And you were able to finagle your way into some crazy trading situations, or you have no rest of your team. But 4 running backs here. We've got Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Joe Mixon, and David Montgomery. You have to start 3. If you want the context, I did some research here. Derrick Henry this week is playing Denver, and Robinson is playing Dallas. Joe Mixon is playing the Jets, and David Montgomery is playing Green Bay. Got to sit 1. I guess we should say bench 1 instead of start 3.
Sure. For me, it's Mixon, or not Mixon. I'm sorry, Montgomery. So Mixon is quietly right behind um, Henry in a lot of statistics. Like he's doing awesome. So I wouldn't say him. Definitely, I wouldn't bench Henry. I think Montgomery, who has Gibbs there and other stuff going on. I mean, he's been solid, but I think that I could. It's more likely to me that he would disappoint than the other running backs. So I think the safest bet, and in most cases, I would just start the other three.
I think we're on the same page there. I think the biggest thing is what you called out, right? Like, um, Mixon doesn't really have anything going on behind him too much. Derrick Henry, like how great he's doing this season, pulling up his snap percentage. He's in there most games, or 60% of the snaps. Which with how run heavy they've been is surprising to look at when you look at the numbers, but that's
Sure.
just what he does with his touches is amazing, and how much they use him when he's actually on the field is what accounts for that. I'm assuming, but still, he's not. I guess the Jamar Gibbs is Lamar Jackson, so I think he's still someone I'd have out there for sure ahead of Montgomery. And then Bijan Robinson's got Algier, but Robinson's still getting a majority of the major touches and getting the love. He scored over 20 points the last 3 weeks, so I would keep those 3 guys in. Bench Montgomery. It seems to be, at least over the last 2 weeks, the better or more used back. Detroit.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I have one here. 5-3 team. So you're probably at the top of your division or close, but you need to make some changes. Been getting wrecked at wide receiver and running back. Should I trade Kyler to upgrade running back on wide receiver if it means rolling with either Dak, Nix, or May at quarterback rest of season? I'm assuming since it's an but he has a lot of quarterbacks. So it has to be Superflex. That's way too many quarterbacks. Unless he's talking
I
about what's
mean,
available out there on the
yeah,
waiver, but
that's what I
maybe
was
just
thinking.
May. But Bo Nix is not available on the waiver anymore. Dak's not available on the waiver, most likely.
There.
So it must be Superflex. But would you trade away Kyler and roll with those other ones, whether it's one or two?
I would. this could sound crazy, and I hate it because I am a fan, but Bo Nix has looked good, man. He's got those
Hmm.
legs. He's someone I think I would trust if
He's
I
got
can
those
get
legs.
goddamn legs. It's got to watch him carve up the Chargers defense a little bit with those
Hmm.
legs. So it was fun to watch if I wasn't rooting against them so heavily. But yeah, I need to go improve those two other positions, knowing that like that's what's really going to drive my fantasy team. So much matters with running back and wide receiver, depending on how the structure of your league is and what that looks like. I would, if Bo Nix is there for me, I would be okay with holding on to him and trading Kyler. Um, as he's had kind of up and downs this season as well. So I would be happy to trade him for, beatable flex positions I can get back.
Yeah, yeah, I'm on that 100%. There's a world where even though Kyler has been ramping up, there's a world where I'd rather play those three quarterbacks. The only thing that's different is the certainty between those other three. Like May was actually doing great, very consistent starter. We have he's I think in concussion protocol, but rest of season in general, that's great. Bo Nix, yeah, he's quietly become a pretty dominant fantasy quarterback for where we thought he was 6 weeks ago. And Prescott, I think, is a great second half sleeper. So I think that there's a world where all three of them by the end of the year you would have said should have been started above Kyler. And that's not to insult Kyler. That's just to say those are really great options. And if you're damaged somewhere else on your team and you can strengthen it, and someone's willing to also pay for Kyler uh, significantly to improve one of those, then yeah, do that.
100%.
All right, here's a weird one. I don't know. This must be redraft. Um, would you do a full PPR trade where you get James Cook and you give up Marvin Harrison Jr.? Let's say in redraft, and then would you do it in Dynasty?
So like context needed situation, right?
Hmm.
Um, like it's a cop out answer, but what is my wide receiver and running back situation right now?
I think mine is the same for. I think I'm confident in, like, I would in redraft make that trade. And I know that context matters, but it's a running back. You can't have too many great running backs. And we just put James Cook in our top 10 in Dynasty even. So I would in redraft. I would not in Dynasty just due to the positional value of a wide receiver versus running back in Dynasty.
Just length of that and what that's going to look like. I don't know if I would say depends on if James Cook is steadily, if he was on my team, would immediately be my running back one, then yeah, I would do it. If I've got like a really solid back already on my squad, if I've got an RB1 that is comparable or higher, then I would want to hold on to Marvin Harrison potentially in redraft. But um, and it depends on how that lays out. But totally buy that. But yeah, I agree with you. I would hold on to Marvin Harrison in Dynasty for sure.
All right. Let's see. Ooh, Superflex Dynasty. This is such a sad question. In Superflex Dynasty, would you rather have Penix or Anthony Richardson?
No, that hurts my heart. Oh man. Well, hopefully Anthony Richardson wasn't your well, obviously I'm assuming he was your starting one of your starting quarterbacks in that league. So that sucks. Um Anthony Richardson might be like the biggest letdown in proportion to preseason hype that's happened in a long, long, long time. Um, we're like crowning him as the next big thing with quarterbacks coming into the season, even after 4 games, only getting to see him for like 3.5 or 4 games. And I was one
Yeah,
of
the
those people. I was
potential. I
excited.
think people knew. I think
Yeah,
people knew that they were risking it by saying that, but it's just like what it could be was so
excited.
it was worth the risk.
I tried trading for him hard in the offseason.
Yeah. You offered the 101 of presumed.
Zoomed 101. And I'm thankful that that didn't go through.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, to go back to the question, I think it's still got to be Anthony Richardson, right? Like, we don't know when Penix is going to start. We don't know what Kirko's starting to look good. They're not. Flacco isn't going to be answered next year, so they've got to decide what they're going to do with AR. But right now, that's a tough question. I think I'm still holding on to AR. But you, are you on the Penix side?
I think so. I don't want to be, but the end of the day is like we have a we have a situation where we might have a Zach Wilson. We have a situation where we might have like a quarterback that is done now. And there's enough question marks about the bad with Anthony Richardson of like if he'll ever be a starter again that make me say I at least have question marks that say is this first round top half first round quarterback going to be good? And I feel that Penix might start before Richardson. Um, there's enough question mark. Either way, you're going to have to find a bridge. And if you can trade Penix Anthony Richardson for Penix, you might get a little additional value too. But if it's like in a vacuum straight up, and I'm picking in a startup between, and those two are the I'm deciding between. I think I'm going Penix. Maybe you can trade Anthony Richardson for Bo Melton, not Bo Melton, Bo Nix.
Who's doing that now? No one's doing that today. You did that trade two
You
weeks ago.
think? Do you think no one would right now?
I don't think anyone. You're not going to
Let's
trade.
yeah.
You're not going to trade someone that just got benched for someone that's on the rise.
I know, but like if you're fast enough, let me see. So on Keep Trade Cut, let's see what that kind of is a good gauge of people's feelings.
Mhm.
Bo Nix is lower by a few spots than Anthony Richardson, but they're about equal, 3,600 versus 3,400. You might be able to throw like a third rounder and Anthony Richardson in for Bo Nix, and then somebody says yes, and that's something that I would do. Penix is actually just below Bo Nix in the same
Interesting.
bracket as Anthony Richardson. So it's not even that crazy of a like that's what people are feeling right now. It is interesting. It's gross.
I don't like that we asked that question. That was
We both kept him out of our top 10 when we re-ranked, right? Thank God.
we
We did
did,
that
and
like
now I
only a
just
few
kind of feel
weeks
like.
into the season.
And then he got benched. Is that our fault? Is it our fault that he got
I
benched?
think it is. I think one of those 77 subscribers are like just the cults.
I was like, oh, he's no longer a top 10 dynasty quarterback.
We
We've
better
got to
make a
move on.
move.
Go
Gotta
back
put
to the
it.
guy that won Nate his championship last year, and Joe Flacco.
That's right. Well, let's maybe we should actually test that out. Who's the backup now there? So we got Joe Flacco in, and I'm going to enter in as my top number one. Sam Ellinger is my number one quarterback in Dynasty. Let's see now if the Colts put him in.
That you gave it away. They're probably still listening.
Yeah.
Everything. It's crazy. It's crazy. We find a happier question.
Yeah, let's end with one more. Let's make it a little bit happier. I got a good one.
Okay, hit me.
In PPR, this person is probably sitting T. Higgins on their team because, I mean, obviously if T. Higgins sits, should they start Tillman or Ridley in half PPR?
Sit these people. Who's their other wide receiver? Did they give it to
No,
us?
no. Did I say that? Who should they start out of Ridley or Tillman?
Just mishearing things. Um, look good this weekend, too.
I think we're going to see more of that, but it also, it wasn't a coincidence that um, old Levi's jeans wasn't in.
Was him. Remember when I thought he was him? That was fun. That was a fun time.
Yeah, that was fun and recorded.
That's why I'm just living into it now. Um, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stick with Ridley. Right, they're playing New England this week. Um, we they're playing New England this week. I think that's more likely to continue. and for Tillman to continue what he was doing going into this week against the number one wide receiver defense in the league. I think Jameis Winston's going to go closer back. There's going to be some regression back to famous Jameis's YOLO attitude and some interceptions happening.
That's fair.
Need some confidence a little bit there. But it could go either way. I mean, we're talking about wide receivers on two pretty bad teams. So the up and down nature of the beast is there for us. But I think I lean on the Calvin Ridley side of that.
I'm trying to not be biased as a Browns fan and say Tillman, but I'm really excited about his usage, and he did look really good. And James Winston does support those type of wide receivers consistently, usually, because he will throw picks, but he'll YOLO it out, as you say, right? And he'll throw it down the field. He'll get an interception, and then that team will score, and then he'll have to do it again and keep bombing. That's why he has so many passing attempts, because half of them go to the other team, so he's got to catch back up. So I think that's a recipe for just success with the wide receivers from a fantasy perspective. So I think I lean a little bit Tillman, but I'm not. I think because of the defense there, maybe I do stick with Ridley, because I feel that like Ridley is going to he's going to start doing what he did last week more consistently, or it's going to be within the range of outcomes more consistently than what he had done previously. I think I'm more confident in him being an every week starter than I am with Tillman. So I think I have to stick with
Seen him
Ridley.
be decent number one potential with D Hop gone there now. I think that is the recipe to drive future success. Do you think Winston has a leash on him? Do you think they go back to DTR at all? Like if he has the interception problem pop up?
I don't know, because I think with Chubb there and getting stronger, I think they have enough. I think they have enough of a core and offense that any competent quarterback, even if there is some interceptions thrown in there, is going to put them in games every week and have them be able to walk away with the win. Um, and I think not enough changes on the defense happened for them to be playing as crappy as they have been. So I think it's more of a confidence in a team morale, and that seemed to be kind of corrected last week. So I think that they stick with him. I would say maybe after 4 or 5 weeks, they might just want to see if they're not in the playoff contention, which they most likely won't be. They might just want to see what they have in DTR. And I could see that being the change, but I think we have a few weeks before we have to worry about
Enough. Fair enough. Well, cool. Exciting stuff. Thanks, folks, for allowing us to pick apart some questions here and jumping into that. If you have been paying attention at all, we've got fun happening this weekend with Arlen's Browns going up against my Chargers.
it. Yeah.
Relayed the bet on the line. If my Chargers win, and if that electric passing game that started off this weekend continues, and we see the Chargers go into Cleveland, stomp all over that elf, and win the game, we will return next week with a shaven Arlen Love.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, so they might stomp the elf, but I think we're going to shock you um, with our performance compared to. We're going to make your number one uh, defense against wide receiver drop all the way to number two. How hard we're going to hit.
Aggressive.
And then you focus on Tillman all you want, because I think Chubb, our Batman, gets a little stronger and stomps right over Bosa.
This is limited play.
Yeah, is he actually banged up right now?
Yeah, he was on a pitch count last week. We'll see what happens with that, but we still got Lee coming up. We got Khalil Mack stopping runs. We got some boys. We'll be all right.
Yeah, you guys are really good. Yeah, we'll see if I want to see. I'm actually genuinely I'm excited about this because these are two offenses that have been boring and that have just kind of gotten a spark, pun intended, to their offenses, and it'll be cool to see them kind of like battle. I feel like there's this tension on each team of like everyone's been disappointed. We finally got something going. Let's go out. That it's going to be it that just for me just makes, even with the great defenses, it makes for a game that is going to be exciting to watch because there's so much on the line from a morale perspective that I don't think they're going to let it be boring. They're just going to go out and give it everything.
Sure. All right. Well, hey, if you've been listening this long, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, or give us a comment, chat with us, and let us know what do you think about these questions that we've answered. If you disagree with us, let us know. We may be fools, and if we are, we'd love to find out why, and we'll tell you, and we'll
Yeah.
respond
Well,
to you there
also
in the
the
comments.
questions don't stop now. If you have some more questions to kind of throw them in the comments because we to date have we've hit back every single question with our answers, with our thoughts, with our communication here. So every comment that's been thrown at us, we've interacted with. So because we really like interacting with y'all. So keep the conversation going. If you have some more start sit questions or anything like that, trade questions, throw them in chat, and we'll give our best answer to hopefully not embarrass us later on after the truth comes out.
Go. And as promised, we went 15 minutes by the way of 32.
I knew that would happen too. It's so us. All right, I'll see you later, guys.